All right. If you have not already done so, please make sure you sign in and make sure you grab some treats. We also have coffee over there. So the District Advisory Committee, normally it is to look over curriculum. However, we are not adopting any curriculum this year. So we basically are just going to highlight the amazing things that we do in our district and just things that are going on. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So if you could go around the room, if you could say your name and what is your role in the district. So my name is Lily O'Mary. I'm the principal up at Washington and the director of curriculum.
Jeannie Chum, superintendent.
Joe Carnazzo, principal at San Venancio and director of special education.
Janae Silva, 5th grade teacher. Sherry Gill, resource specialist here at San Venancio.
Andrea Alcairo, teaching teacher.
Tracy Myrick, teaching teacher.
Caitlin Kaiser, school counselor.
All right, so how it's going to work for this morning is we're going to do department updates. So the first one I'm going to highlight is STAR. The STAR rep is not here, but I just want to thank them for all that they've done. District-wide, they've granted our technology request. They're doing teacher grants. All 3 school sites have gotten picnic tables. Joe's are already out, which they look great. How about at Toro? Are they out yet?
They built them, we used them, I believe, for the harvest carnival.
Great. Ours are built, and we're just waiting for the transition because it's a lot of manpower to move all those tables. For Toro Park, they have granted money for the TK playground, also discretionary funds. Up at Washington, we have money for the Gold Rush, so we're really starting to see a decrease in the pricing for Gold Rush. It was originally going to be about $450 for just one night. We've gotten it down to about $320, which is great. We also have an art club going on that they funded. This month, we're going to do little clay pots. And also discretionary funds. And up at San Venancio, Joe has purchased his Flex Farm. They have a tech class supplies list that they're funding, lab supplies, and then also discretionary funds. Are there any questions about STAR or what we've purchased so far? And Joe, have you started the Flex Farm?
The Flex Farm just got delivered on Friday, and we put it together, and Christina Ziegler is going to be responsible for managing it, and she's going to start with students next week after report cards are all
I was
finished.
wondering, so what is a flex farm?
It's a hydroponic farming thing
Cool.
that it wraps around a light, and it has 250 slots for seeds, and you germinate the seeds outside of the device, and then you put them in the little holes, and then they grow, and it produces 25 to 30 pounds of lettuce every 30 days.
Oh wow! So they're doing lettuce.
Yeah, well, that lettuce is the example. There's a bunch of other things you can do.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of different vegetables, different types of lettuce.
Make a salad bar.
That's some of the districts that have 4 or 5 of these things do that. They make salad bars and do farmers markets and stuff like that.
Cool.
If you have 4 or 5 of them, you can produce over 100 pounds of produce. So
Wow.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's cool. So we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of kids that are excited about setting it up and running it. We have a lot of excitement right now at San Venancio, just a side note, on like the 3D printers. I have a couple kids that are working on 3D printers. One of our 3D printers is malfunctioning, so we're going to look into probably purchasing a new one. They're not expensive 3D printers. They were both about $300.
Yeah.
So we're going to look into a model. We have 2 6th graders that are running it because our problem here seems to always be the kids that know how to do it, then graduate, and then we have nobody else ready to go. So we have 2 6th graders, so I'm really excited about that. That if we invest in a nicer model, we can make some cool stuff. So a couple things: the farm, the 3D printer, a lot of excitement around some of the
And so are those
extracurriculars.
during that end period?
They do. They sometimes they're allowed to go during activity, and sometimes it's just lunch and recess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next, we have art, but I do not see Lucy, so you want to go later?
Yeah, I
Thank you.
believe the answer.
So I'm going to do a quick curriculum update, and teachers, please chime in if you see anywhere where I missed. But just so that everyone knows, our 4 subjects.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Math, we use Eureka Math.
Yeah.
ELA, we use Young 5. Science, Discovery Ed, and Social Studies for us. So, for social studies, we were going to do an adoption this year, but they have not come up with a new framework, so we're going to go ahead and skip doing a social studies adoption until next year or when the new framework comes out. Right now, we are in the middle of doing a reading screener for our kinder through second students. I was able to go and watch the reading screener being implemented. It was amazing. The teacher sits on their computer. The student has an iPad. It works so well. It's really cute. It's 10 minutes per student. The students afterward, I asked, how did you feel about it? And they said, I want to do it again. It was really fun. So they have really cute animals that pop up, and they ask them different questions about spelling and reading. And also I popped in a second grade class, and it was just so amazing to see them sound out words like one of them, I can't even remember what it was kinesiology or something like that. And it was really cool to watch them use that science of reading to help sound out that word. The next one is, let's see here. Did you have a question? Oh, sure. Thank you.
By the way, Lily, Joe mentioned we could go back to the music, whatever.
You're actually next. Yeah, I'll go real quick. Yes, thank you, Sammy. So we also have First Tee. So First Tee started September 29th at Toro Park in Washington. It offers 30 to 45 minutes of physical activity. As many of you know, fifth graders take the physical fitness test, so they're adding some cardio at the beginning of First Tee for our students up at Washington. I also sent out the PD day schedule for the entire school year. It is tentative, so I do change it periodically if needed. But this month, for example, we have report card prep, and then 2 of the days are going to be used for teacher collab. I'm really excited because in December, we have an ELD training. And again, our teachers are so fantastic that this training is just to give our teachers even more strategies to put in their toolbox. The instructional leadership team is in full force. We are focusing this year on multiple measures and making sure that it's syncing with our curriculum. We adopted the Amplify curriculum, and so it's been brought to my attention that some of the multiple measures just aren't pairing well with Amplify, so we're really trying to work on making sure that our timelines match, and so that way when report cards come along, it's not this, oh my gosh, we have to do a CRT just to get it done. It's more of a meaningful test at the end of each trimester. We also are working on district writing as well. New this year, I'm really trying to push really fun PD opportunities for our teachers. Every month I send out a curriculum update, and at the bottom I've been attaching different PDs that are free to teachers. Some are a fee, but the district will pay for it. So this month I sent out one for the science CAS. So I hope some teachers will take advantage of that. We also, next month, will be offering a CPR class, and I already have about 11 teachers who are interested, which is great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put it back to Sammy. Sammy, come on up for music.
So I'm going to speak just from my end. I know Christian Murillo, who's teaching over at Toro, he's doing an awesome job. He's teaching general music over there. And I also have to give him a huge shout out for helping me over at Washington with the beginning band, which I'll talk about. So in our general music at Washington, they're just learning different musical concepts, and I try to use different modalities and use kind of some of the resources that we have in addition to new resources. But we learn music concepts through singing. We play xylophones, and we also play percussion instruments like rhythm sticks. We've been doing recorders in 4th grade, ukuleles in 5th grade, which has been super exciting. We just started that a few weeks ago, where they're learning chords, and they're going to be learning how to sing and play ukulele at the same time. But a lot going on in the general music class. In beginning band, this year has been pretty awesome. We've been able to add a couple of music classes again, thanks to Mr. Murillo. And they are now a little bit more focused on instrument groups so that it's all in line. Like, it's a little bit more individualized learning. It's more focused on like instrument specific topics. We also, I think the first time, have a class for the year 2 students. So those students that took band last year, they have their own class where it's their second year and they aren't having to play like kind of the first year with the first year students where they're kind of sitting there and they're like, yeah, I already know this stuff. So it's really engaging for them, and they're doing really, really well. I started a drama club this year over here at San Venancio. It's once a week on Tuesdays during lunch. We play games. They learn acting techniques. We act out short scenes. We analyze drama performances, and right now they're preparing monologues, so they got to choose their monologue, and we're going to be doing that today. In guitar, which is happening as we speak, they're doing Yankee Doodle. So for the first half of the year, it's beginning guitar, focusing on the basics, music reading, playing chords and singing while playing chords. We just got out our electric guitars that we got last year, donated by Guitars Not Guns, which is a cool organization. So those are brand new from last year. And in the second half of the year, it goes to advanced guitar. So if those students want to continue, I also had some guitar students last year that are going to hop back in for advanced guitar. So it's kind of, again, it's giving them that opportunity for more challenging material. And then in concert band, we're doing our pretty much usual band curriculum, but we've also, I added a piece that's written for percussion ensemble. So we have 5 percussion students this year, and I wanted to give them like an extra challenge again, and so they are preparing their own piece that they're going to play at the winter concert, which again I don't know that we've done in the past. And jazz band students, this is our like group that they have to audition for. It's more advanced music, and they learn skills like such as improvising for a jazz solo, and also a little bit of music theory. So a lot going on. And again, huge shout out to Mr. Murillo for helping over at Washington and at Toro. I know the students at Toro love him, and I guess Mike can definitely speak to that. But yeah.
Awesome.
I'm gonna respond. He was
Okay.
watching my students.
Okay, thanks. All right. Caitlin, if you wouldn't mind coming up and let me find your slide. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Quick little counseling update. We just had a successful Unity Day district-wide. So that was super awesome. I have some pictures here. Hopefully you can see them. Really fun day over at Washington Union. We had the Oak students from San Venancio come over, and they presented to the younger students, which was really cool to see. Gave them a little lesson about what Unity Day is and why we celebrate it. And then we did some fun activities with them for their PE period. So super successful. Looking forward to doing that again next year. District-wide as well, I'm doing brief and group counseling, and I'll get a little bit more into what that looks like at each of the different sites. So at Toro, I currently have a lunch bunch, a friendship group, and an anger management group in addition to my normal caseload. I have about 35 active students on my caseload at Toro. So it's been kind of challenging getting them in one day. So the groups have been really helpful. Lunch bunch has been really helpful too. The purpose of Lunch Bunch has pretty much been to practice those SEL skills that Ms. Commons is giving them during their classroom lessons. A lot of one speaker at a time, following the group plan. So a little different than what it was last year. Friendship group, we're working on those social skills. I have a second grade group and a third grade group. And it's made up of girls. I don't have any boys in the group, but I'm open to it if there ever were a need. Working on social skills, learning how to find common interests between their peers, and develop those friendships. An anger management group as well. I have a group of third grade boys, and we've been meeting for about a little over a month now, working on learning those coping skills and recognizing their anger patterns and how to address their anger in an appropriate manner. Moving over to Washington Union, we're doing classroom SEL lessons. We're working on a self-management series right now. So we had our first lesson, and that was on impulse control. And this next lesson we're working on is stress management. I'm using a new curriculum, and it seems to be really engaging and well-received so far, so hoping that it continues on that pattern. I'm also starting up a lunch bunch at Washington Union. I have a few students who have been referred to me for that. Sent some parent permission slips out and just waiting to get those back so I could start up. My caseload, I have about 17 active students at Washington Union as well. And here at San Venancio, I can take on a lot more because I'm here for 3 days. So you notice I have a lot more bullet points there. We just had our first successful bully intervention program with Mr. Nate. So we had our first student kind of graduate from that 4-week course. We're always open to adding more students, should there be a need. I'm managing the wellness center. So the way I work that is I prioritize the counseling appointments. So I have the students fill out a Google form, and then I'm able to see if they want a counseling appointment or a wellness center appointment, and then prioritize from there. I would say right now, even with the students filling out that they want a wellness center appointment, majority of my sessions are counseling based. I'd say there's about 10% that just wants to hang out in there and take a little mental break. So that's been keeping me really busy. I see about 2 appointments per period. Sometimes I can squeeze in a third, but not usually. I have my Allies Club, which meets once a week. That is Thursdays during lunch, and it's just a space for students to kind of take their mask off and just, be surrounded by their common-minded peers. Book club, I just started up with Miss Moore, so that's library during lunch break on Fridays. We have a group of about 8. I think we might be up to 10 now. I think we recruited a boy, so super exciting. The girls and boys are really excited. They've chosen their first book and they've started reading that. So we've met about 3 times now. And excited to see where that takes us. I'm starting. What's that?
What book is it?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher it. Something Blade of Thorn. They wanted romance. So I had, Miss Moore and I went back and forth on the appropriateness, and so we ended up sending out parent permission slips to, sign that consent form. So we covered our bases. Some of the ratings were 12 plus, and then others were not so 12 plus. So we're just like, okay, we'll get parent permission and go from there. But they're really liking it. I didn't want to diminish their flame there. They were pretty excited. So, I think Blade of Thorn, something. Yeah, Miss Moore would be a better one. Yeah. This week I have starting up my grief group and my test taking skills group. I have 3 students in each of those. My grief group are unfortunately students they've all lost their fathers. So we'll be starting to meet this week. We'll be meeting for 6 to 8 weeks and just, giving them the space to remember the person that they loved and lost and processing those feelings in such a developmental state. Test taking skills, those are my students who are struggling with test anxiety. So we are working through some coping strategies, and they'll all go home with their coping strategies, like handout and folder that they'll take with them. Super excited to get that one started as well. Also, in the process of getting together, bless you.
Thank you.
Some SEL lessons that'll be given once a month during activity period. I have an online program, so the teacher won't need to be up there giving it, and I won't need to be up there giving it, so they can just run through it as a class. And it seems to be really great. We're going to start with a self-management series as well. And my caseload, I'll talk a little bit more on the next page, but we kind of talked about it mostly with the Wellness Center. Seeing, mostly 2 appointments per period, so that ends up being about 14 students a day, plus my groups. Looking ahead, we're going to have Red Ribbon Week, and that'll be the first week of December. We're going to have Dr. Grover from CHOMP come and give a presentation to our students on drug and alcohol awareness. That whole month of December, we'll be selling candy grams with my OAPS group, and they'll be able to add a kindness message to their candy cane to be delivered during activity class. January, the last week of January, we'll be doing the Great Kindness Week, and that'll be a district-wide event as well, just like Unity Day. Our campus of focus for this event will be Toro. So we'll be having our OAPS students come and celebrate with you guys over at Toro. Super excited. And then Career Week, which the date is still TBA. A lot of that is still up in the works for me, I've been actually talking with Mr. Abel because he's in the works of doing a Career Week for Salinas High right now. And hoping I can get him to come and be a part of ours, talk to our students about ROP and classes over at the high school. Let's see. The next slide is just kind of some data from my Google form, so you can kind of see just since the month of September through the end of October, the responses that I've gotten from the Google form, and then the ratios of counselor versus wellness center appointments. So yeah, the students have really liked that process of signing up and self-advocating for their own appointments, and it's been really successful so far. So hope it continues to be.
Can I ask how you do that? Is it something that's on their classroom page?
Yeah.
And they just, if they're feeling in that day they need an appointment, they fill it out and then you call them out, or how does that work?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's on their Google Classroom for San Venancio, so all the students have access to it. I created like a counseling and wellness center subcategory, so they just go to that. They fill out the form. It asks just if you want counselor or wellness center. If it's an emergency, I ask them to put a little bit more details, and then I'll prioritize to get them in sooner. And then they can choose what period they'd like to come, or if it's wellness center, they can choose up to 3 students to come and take a break with them. So yeah, it's been a pretty good process so far. It's worked pretty well. Kind of mitigated those bangs on my door. So that's been good.
Sorry, and then is it usually within that same day you're able to grab them, or is it sometime in that week?
I tell them within the week.
Okay.
Most of the time I'm able to get them in that day, but some days I'll have a bunch of students who are needing appointments. And that's why it's really important that they put counselor or wellness center, because I prioritize those counseling appointments. And if they put a little bit more information, like some will literally say ASAP, blah, blah, blah is going on. And so I'll call them in right away. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to highlight, Caitlin, and I don't know, Janae, if you want to piggyback. The Unity Day at Washington was so well planned. I was only able to see 4th grade. I wasn't able to see 5th grade, but it was so well planned. It was fantastic. So thank you for that. That was
Thank you
great.
so much.
It was so organized, and the Oaks that came and like had each a station and knew exactly what to do. It was very clear the message that was being sent, and also what they were getting out of this idea. It was great.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
Oh yeah, it was very well done.
That's really done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to doing it again.
Great.
Yes. That's great. Anything else? I'm gonna pass it on. Thank you.
All right, next we have Mr. Mitchell.
There really hasn't been a whole lot going on with technology in the district. But this is just kind of a snapshot of like our infrastructure situation in terms of how many devices and view boards, all the other things that we're working with. As I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah, that's adding up. And that doesn't include the classroom, like grade level printers too. I realize that now that I'm looking at it. But quite a variety of different devices that are part of our infrastructure that make, what you do in the classroom possible. So it's neat to see it all in one place. This is kind of a map of our infrastructure. So each one of these little green things is helping get the signal where it needs to go throughout all the different school sites. So like internet comes in, goes to Toro, San Venancio, Washington, out through all of this thing. And part of the issue at the beginning of the year was there was an issue with our server that then affected the ability to get out to all of our switches and to our access points. So as part of the process to get us back online, the County Office of Education was able to give us a new server, which is fantastic, and we're repurposing our old one to be like a backup server to have a little bit of flexibility. But between the server and the 20 switches, it gets the signal where it needs to go most of the time. But as part of the upgrades to get us back online, we are switching to more cloud-based server and access point management, which is great. So we got those going. It took us about $11,000 to get us back in line at the beginning of the year, and that was really just like emergency swap outs for our server and then the 3 core switches at each of the sites. And part of the issue was that our server was full. So we're kind of transitioning to more of a cloud-based format for our file storage. We got plenty of room on the Google Drive cloud server. So that's what we're going to try and transition to help prevent issues like that from happening in the future. So we are going to continue upgrading the infrastructure that we have. And thanks to the Star Foundation, we have some financial flexibility to do that. And so that'll be working to upgrade some of those 20 switches to help get the signal where it needs to go, along with incorporating battery backups. So when we have power outages, you can kind of still be online, especially for our voice over IP phones. Snapshot of our budget. So this is for this year, and I kind of put our one-time fees that we typically don't necessarily have every year. So the switch upgrades at the beginning, and we usually purchase a chunk of Chromebooks every year to shore up the supply. We did a smaller order this time around, so we could have a little bit more flexibility with upgrading our infrastructure equipment. The rest of these are technology or ed tech related, and there are annual kind of subscription fees for that particular service. So everything from like the business office and their Escape like accounting program to the cloud management, what we pay the County Office of Education for providing internet to us, our IT contract services. Those are the guys we call when things don't work. Or you call me, I call them. Our voice over IP, Schoolwise, our student information system, Parent Square. So all of these things kind of relate and their costs add up. So we have an annual cost of about $100,000 that we work with that's related to technology expenditures every year. And I'm sure there's a few that I missed, but that's a snapshot of where we are. And then so far this year, we're at about 130 with the upgrades that we've done so far. But with the money from STAR, which was fantastic, so they gave us $50,000 to kind of purchase Chromebooks and complete our network upgrades, get some battery backups going. And while that's an amazing amount of money, it's not enough to upgrade everything. So we're going to kind of chunk out and prioritize what we can do. So we have about $27,000 left of the 50, and that's going to be used to continue to upgrade our network switches and get those battery backups going. And we're in the process of transitioning to a new IT service provider, and the goal is to complete those upgrades with the new service provider starting in January. So we'll get things going. And then this was another way just to kind of snapshot all of the programs that we're using throughout the district. So I know it probably overlaps a little bit with curriculum, but just so, everything has to work together, right, for the magic to happen. And let me know if I miss something, because I can always add to the list. And these span from just basic communications to education applications to fully digital curriculums that are in use throughout the district. So yeah.
And IXL.
Oh yeah, that's one that
We use that one a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we even have our library management system in there. So it's all connected. And we're kind of exploring ways to make that integration a little easier through Clever, seeing how many applications we can get going. So
Do you think next year we'll use Clever fully?
I think it's, some of it is a question of budget to have the Clever integration, but that's something we can look at this year and try and make it happen. So it is a little more seamless for students and teachers if it all goes to one point and then they're able to go where they need to go. Mm-hmm. Even the littles can figure it out if they have like a touch screen, right? So that's the goal. And our technology committee this year is really going to focus on kind of taking on the role of a task force to develop an AI policy for the district, and then continue our review of the implementation of our current technology plan, which is up next year. I think it expires, so we'll see how that's going. But those are the two priorities. That's it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to be recapping special education and what's going on. We have a lot going on in the special education world too. So just a little bit of information here about what our obligations are as a school district with special education. I think sometimes, if you're not Sherry or special ed teachers, some of this stuff comes as a surprise of what we're responsible for. I'll talk a little bit about C2B next and what responsibilities that we have as a school district. So first of all, the first thing that we have to ensure as a school district is that each child with a disability is offered FAPE, which is free and appropriate public education. So I have the listing of what that means. You can kind of figure that out by what it is. Free means it's at public expense. It's free to the families. Appropriate means that it's tailored to their IEP and it's individualized. Public means that it's at a public school facility. There's some exceptions to that, but generally all services will be provided through public facilities or public monies. And then education, obviously, we're looking at the least restrictive environment in the education world. We're placing kids in what we feel is the least restrictive environment. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means later. WUSD runs a learning center model at all 3 school sites, and it's centered around inclusion of students in the general education curriculum. We do have one special day class located at Toro Park School this year, but the student that's in that class is pushing out into general ed as well. So we do our best to push students out into general education as much as possible at all 3 sites. Okay, IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, has 3 different parts. There's Part C, Part B, and Part A, and it goes backwards because if you think about it this way, it's from birth. Part C is birth to age 3, so that's infant services. And that's where you have children from 0 to 3 that are receiving services through regional centers. We have San Andreas Regional Center in our community. MPUSD also provides Part C services and MCOE, MPUSD, Monterey Peninsula Unified, and MCOE, Monterey County Office of Education. So there's 3 providers for Part C in Monterey County. It's San Andreas Regional Center, MPUSD, and MCOE. Okay, so that is Part 1. Part C is early intervention, and that's birth to age 3. Once they hit 3 years old, then the student becomes the responsibility of the local school district, okay, the school district in which that student lives in. And that ranges from age 3 to age 21. Okay, 3, that's Part B, 3 to 21. Part A is adult transition services, and that's when students are post 21. And we don't have any of those students in our district since we don't have a high school, so we don't have to worry about the transition from B to A. What we have to worry about is the transition from Part C to B. Okay, so 2.5 to 3 years old. So once a student turns 3 years old, they must have an IEP in place, or they have to be assessed, and if they have a disability, an IEP must be in place on their 3rd birthday. There's no rule around that. The law says on their 3rd birthday. So if their 3rd birthday is June 25th and we're in summer, they must have it on June 25th. We have 2 coming up right now. I have 2 3-year-old birthdays, one on December 22nd and one on December 28th. They must have an IEP in place by those days. Therefore, we have to have it done by December 18th, our last day of school. So timelines become really challenging to manage at this rate. And a lot of it also depends on parents. I have the student whose birthday is the 22nd. I've been hounding the parents to come in, and they just brought it in yesterday. So our legal 60-day timeline becomes shortened now. They brought it in, so now I only have about 48 days to do the assessment, right? So a lot of it depends on the parents. There's no flexibility in the law. They must have an IEP on their 3rd birthday. So we have to run our assessment quickly. That kind of stuff kind of happens often. So thinking about what we're up against here with is making sure that we find these students, and these students come to us, and then we educate them, the families, on the system and how it works, so we can get them in the right place. Okay. So what we usually see in our district is students that receive itinerant services. So at age 3, remember they can come to TK at age 4 now. Okay, so from 3 to 4, we must provide services to these children. Okay, because remember, they're our responsibility at age 3. So what we generally see, and what we've seen a lot in the past, is students that come to Toro Park School and receive speech, occupational therapy, or intervention from our special education teacher. And that's normally what we see. In the recent years, we've seen a rise in cases that might be outside of our scope. Right. So we have a limited scope with regard to what we can provide. If we have a student that needs services that we cannot provide as a district, we must find a place for them at our expense. Right now, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the committee meeting tomorrow and at the board meeting the following week, we have 4 cases of autism students, four different students that need a placement for services that are beyond what we can provide. So what that requires us to do as a district is find placement for these students and pay for the program and pay for the students to get there. Okay, so that's something that is an unexpected cost. We never know who's about to turn 3 that lives within the district bounds, right? We never know who that is. So it's a wild card on what we get. Since I've been here, we've never had more than 4 itinerant students. I believe we have 6 right now. I don't think we've ever had more than 2 or 3 at one time, maybe 3 at the most. We have 6 right now, 4 autism students needing placement. So this is really an extreme number for us, and it's a heavy lift for 1, the team, and 2, the budget. Okay, this one I'll skip over. Some of you guys, most everybody here, knows who the special education staff are, but these are instructional aides on the right at each school site. And then myself, our school psychologist, we have a speech and language pathologist, occupational therapist, and there's our 4 special education teachers. Elise is at Toro Park, and she will not be there very long. She's a long-term sub, and we've hired a teacher to replace her at Toro Park, so we will have a new teacher starting soon, probably next week. Mrs. Cortez runs the special day class at Toro Park. Mr. Cezak is at Washington, and Ms. Gill is here at San Venancio. Okay, who we serve. Right now, this changes. I was changing things around. Like, I made this presentation a week ago, and it's already changed. We've already had a few referrals. So I updated it last night. We currently have 88 TK to 8 special education students. When I look on my management side, I see 94 because we have the itinerant students, but we have 88 that attend and come to our building. There's 94 kids in there. There's 4 pending. So we're nearing 100 special education students in the district being served. 88 within our buildings. 31 at San Venancio, 20 at Washington, 37 at Toro Park. These are an inclusion of the students that receive, I'll talk about services next, but this includes speech only students, right? So these numbers, Sherry, your caseload's at 27, 28, which is very high, by the way. And the rest of the students to get to 31 receive speech only services. They work with our speech and language pathologist.
Just confirm, these are all in district
No.
service providers, or they're
Wait, service
or,
kids?
sorry, not service kids, yeah.
No.
They're overall in and out.
Yep, you're on the committee. So Wednesday night, you'll see the breakdown for in versus out. But no, this is a mixture of in versus out. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of percentage within the whole student population.
Above 10%. We're at 7. I don't have that one calculated, but what are we? 7.
12,
What are we at? 7 something?
740.
740 and 88 kids, so we're over 10%. Now you do get findings by the state about disproportionality if you're above 10%. I think it has to be for 3 consecutive years, and then you're considered disproportionate. So over the years, we've ebbed and flowed in and out of that. So we haven't ever been identified as disproportionate, but we're close. We're close. I believe we were right on the cusp last year with disproportionality. So we are close to that. There's some districts that once they hit the 10%, they just stop. They stop taking any referrals, which is kind of a gray area because you can't really do that either. So it's either, we have a child find obligation. That's what it's called if you look under IDEA with regard to child find. We are responsible for finding students who need special education services. So when districts just stop at 10%, they're kind of in violation of the law, but they're also avoiding a finding from the state. They might be in SIGDIF, which is significant disproportionality, which I think is over 15%. So there's different things that districts are weighing on.
What happens when you're disproportionate?
You get a state finding, you get audited, you get people that will come in and try to fix your program, basically. So it's really right now in this time, it's really common for districts to be in disproportionality or SIGDIF, significant disproportionality. I was talking to the director from North County, and they've been in SIGDIF for 8 years. So it's just constant monitoring from the state at that point.
So you're not over.
Yeah. So you're not overqualifying. It's to prevent overqualification. Yeah.
Does itinerant service kids count towards that 10%, even
Yes.
if they're not part of our population?
Mm-hmm. They do. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so how students qualify for IEPs, there's 13 disability categories that are all listed there. The majority of ours are specific learning disability, I guess, or speech and language impairment. I have a list coming up of a pie chart of what we break down, but those are the more common ones with who we serve. And there you go, right there. There's the pie chart of what we see. So we're at a little bit higher on specific learning disability. Speech and language is up there. I think Karen's caseload is about 45, low 40s. The max for an SLP is 55. So that's something that we have to balance. We're not there yet. But yeah, she's working towards it. And we are seeing an increase in speech services as well. We're seeing an increase in everything across the board. But Sherry's the one, she's here, that she's close with her caseload at 27. We have a large caseload at the middle school right now. And yeah, so something to watch for and making sure that we have adequate staff. This is just services rendered. So these are the students, 59 of the students receive specialized academic instruction, which is generally what we see for aides in the classroom at the middle school. And then we have 2 students that receive intensive individualized service. That's going to be special day, a couple other things. Speech and language, we have 44 students. There's my caseload answer. So we have 44 students receiving speech services. OT, we have 11. Individual counseling is educationally related mental health services. So that has nothing to do with Caitlin, right? Caitlin's services would not be on an IEP. This has to do with educationally related mental health services. That's when we need to contract with Monterey County Behavioral Health because the students' needs for mental health are impacting their education. So that's when we call in support from there. That's higher now. When I made this PowerPoint, I think that's at 4 now. We have added 1 student since then. Behavior intervention services, and then we have 1 deaf and hard of hearing student. This is awesome. We don't see this very often. 100% compliance on the Cyrus side. This is just a screenshot from our IEP management system. So props to the special education team. This is good stuff. So we're nearing this makes my job and Tracy in the district office job a little bit easier because we're nearing fall 1, which is December 12th, which is our first reporting timeline to the state. We have to make sure all of our information from Cyrus, which is IEP management, goes over to CalPADS, which is the statewide pupil system that we have to report to a couple times a year. Okay, some of you guys have seen these slides. If you were at the town hall back in September, I took these same slides and we'll present them here. So maintenance of effort is a federal requirement under IDEA that we do not reduce special education spending. I put in that first bullet. In simple terms, you cannot spend less on special education year to year. So your budget must keep increasing by at least $1 every year. There's certain allowable expenses. If you have a student that graduates out of an expensive program or that you're placing somewhere, there's some leeway for that, right? I mean, if you have a $100,000 placement and that student graduates out, then there's some flexibility there. But generally speaking, year after year, you cannot lower your special education costs. And here's our maintenance of effort chart from 2011 to now. The next couple slides will show you the actual dollar amounts because when I did the data labels, you can't even see them because they're so big. So I put on the next one the slides. So back in 2011, we were only spending $600,000 on special education, and fast forward to 24-25, and we're looking at 1.6. And this year, has to be higher. We didn't graduate anybody out. We didn't do any placement changes. And that's not going to be a problem, right, Gerardo? We will be higher.
We have to spend $1 more at least.
Oh, we will at least spend $1 more. I can promise you that. Yeah. We have those placements. We have a couple other things pending I'll talk about tomorrow that will come out on Wednesday at the board meeting. A couple other pending things we have going on too. Okay, here's a specific breakdown of costs. Staffing is our biggest cost, like in any school district. People are what we invest in. Our staffing is about $1.1 million, and that goes through all the people that I listed on the slide. Outside placements and transportation. I put these two kind of together because it's expensive. Outside placements, we're looking at about $250,000 at 250. I believe it's a little bit higher. I think when we got the bills, it was 256, so $5,000 higher than what we had. And then transportation, that actually is going to go down. In the meantime, from when I did this to, I did this back in September to now, we actually had another family that we're providing transportation to opt to drive their own student to the program, which really helps because we are then only responsible for mileage to the family. So that cost goes significantly down, which is great. So when people decide to drive their own students, that's awesome because it's a significant cost savings in transportation.
Joe, can you just briefly talk about what it costs if we have to bus a student to
Yeah.
the county office?
So it's variable, like how they decide is if there's, and we're geographically where we're located, it's tough. Because if there is students already on the route and a bus is coming this way or this way, depending on where you're sending them, then they can join a bus and that defrays the cost. So there might be let's say there's a program in Salinas and there's a bus coming from MPUSD. The MPUSD bus might be able to pick some of our kids up on the way and go to Salinas, defray costs. However, if they have to do their own dedicated route, which generally happens here based on where we are geographically, it's about $150 a kid. $150,000 a student for a school year of transportation. Not to mention the placement. I have, you hate to put dollar amounts on kids, but it's real and I need to explain it. But we have one student that requires intensive support at MPUSD, and her cost is about 180. So that's what we pay MPUSD. And then with transportation on top of that, you're looking at $250,000 to $300,000 for that one student. Keep in mind, we get $10,000 per student. So, and that's something we have to do. You have to do it, and there's no way around it.
The 10K is from the state.
Yeah, and that's the allocation you get per student. So, definitely not making any money. Educationally related mental health services, that's what I talked about. Monterey County Behavioral Health, we pay $18,000 to them a year to support our 4 students. That'll go up a little bit because that was based on 3 students. So looking at probably about $24,000 there for educationally related mental health services, which in the grand scheme of things, $18,000 is low. But if you think about it, these students are receiving 30 minutes a week. So that's what we're paying for a 38-week school year, 30 minutes a week. When you think about it, it's a pretty high hourly rate. Rising number of students on IEPs, that's wrong. That's 88. I forgot to update this slide. But yeah, 88. I talked about the 10% threshold. Legal fees is highly variable. It's going to be high this year based on cases that we have going. Services are billed at between $375 and now $425 an hour. So, for example, I'll give you what we have going on. I have 2 cases that required 5 total prior written notice letters, and what that is basically a legal letter that's legally defensible, that says what the district is doing or what they're offering and goes to the family. One letter probably is 2 hours worth of work, maybe more. So you're looking at about $1,000 a letter. And we had 5 for 2 cases that I have going on, one of which is not placed here, has never been here, just lives within district bounds. So you're looking at like some pretty extreme legal fees. I have a student who's placed that family provides a lawyer at every meeting. When they have a lawyer, we have a lawyer. So those meetings are, they usually run about 4 hours, and we usually do 2 of them. So 8 hours worth of time. You're paying about $3,200, honestly, for the lawyer to sit there and be a part of the meeting. She's important, and she gives good feedback after, and I would never go without it. But that's the cost of what we have to do. We had a case that we settled in 2024, a student that moved away. He never stepped foot within school bounds. Parents had some issues with the placement that we provided, not with us, but with the people in the placement. We got lumped into it wouldn't be considered class action. That's not the right word, but multiple defendants? Yeah. So anyways, there's multiple school districts and entities lumped into one account. And we had to settle. And the bottom line is when you get those things, they were asking for what came to be from us a total of $10,000. And our lawyer said, settle. Why would you even fight it? You can probably win, but why would you fight it? Because your legal fees are going to far exceed your settlement account. So settle. So we ended up having to settle that one. I have a case that's upcoming. Another student that lives within district boundaries has never stepped foot on a district school. And it's been a very tough case to which we've had to bring in many different assessors, outside agencies, all for, I'm not really sure, right? I'm not sure what's going to happen with this student. I don't know where he's going to go. But if it does make it to due process, it would be a 6-figure case for sure. So that's something that we have to look at and something that we're responsible for. Services for students in district placement. This is $150,000 or really more now. This is a little bit outdated. I would say that's probably closer with some of the new funding things that we've had come through. That's probably closer to $200,000 at this point. Probably $185,000. With specialized aids, specialized behavior aids, we had a little bit of an increase in cost to that. And then just your general cost to run special education programs, which is actually, we keep it very low. There's not a whole lot of flexibility with regard to supplies, assessment materials, and different things that we can get beyond exactly what we need. IEEs, independent educational evaluations, highly variable. You never know when you're going to get one. We've had 2 this year and 1 at the tail end of last year. We had a psycho ed this year for $7,000. We had an OT for $5,000, all for the same student. That student required 3 prior written notices. So you're looking at about $20,000 just for one thing. We just don't know. I have $30,000. It'll exceed that this year based on some of the IEEs. With the student that I just talked about that doesn't go to the school, that we've run every assessment you could run. Assistive technology, occupational therapy, speech, psychoed, anything you can run. Well, that is important because we have to do our due diligence. However, it opens up IEE opportunities. A parent can request an individual educational evaluation at the expense of the public, us, for one time for any assessment. So if we just did 5 assessments on those students, they can request 5 IEEs. And as I mentioned, IEEs range from $5,000 to $10,000. So opens us up there. And then C2B, I already talked about, highly variable. You never know with C2B. Yep.
Are there any questions about Ben? Great. Lucy is in the middle of a lesson, so I'm going to buzz through art really quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to read her slide. So collage is our first unit in the district. Kindergarten have a new lesson, Rainbow Unicorn Texture Rubbings. 4th grade made a Matisse Magic collage. Students chose a complementary or analogous color palette. 6th grade have just completed their 1-point perspective surrealist collage. District Art Day was September 17th. Toro and Washington classes made a class poster celebrating fairness, which are displayed in all the classrooms. They look really cute. Sam and Show has a new mural called Monster Party, which is the bottom right. It looks really cute. It's out there. Every student drew a monster in math, scaled it up from centimeters to inches, then painted on the mural. So, yeah, I can't say enough nice things about art. What did you say, Janae?
That was super fun.
Yeah, the murals look great at Sam Man Show, and was it a bird? Is that what they did last year?
Yeah, they had the birds on the wire last year.
Yeah, really.
If you get a chance, you can walk down. Anybody wants to see it in the courtyard.
Yeah, very
What a
cute.
great application with math too. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about art?
She's just doing a fantastic job.
She does a great job, yes. All right. Well, this concludes our meeting. Are there any other additional questions? Jerry, do you have a question?
I was expecting to be here another hour.
Oh, yes. You're welcome, you guys. Hour free.
Yeah,
All right.
well,
Well,
time-
thank you so much.